Yo, 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 baseball fans. Big D here with a little baseball edition on the Big D podcast. Before I bring in my friend from Kentucky, please subscribe, like, and share the Spunky Spectrum Sports YouTube page. You can see all my content. Open Championship, football, baseball, NASCAR. We've got it all here. Also, check out the Big D podcast on Spotify and Apple. So, joining us from the Commonwealth, yes, Commonwealth, Kentucky is my friend, baseball extraordinaire, Atlanta Braves, Kentucky Wildcats, whatever you want, Larry Gritton. Baldy, how things going in your neck of the woods?
It's going great. It's been warm up here, but not as hot down there in your neck of the woods. But I'm in God's country up here, so all is well.
Yeah, let me tell you, how about 95 degrees, 80% humidity, thunderstorms, thank goodness we don't have any hurricanes yet, but but it is July, and you know what that means here. It is hot.
Yeah, it's about 78 here right now, so it's pretty pleasant. We get really hot days too. It just doesn't last up into October like it does down there in South Florida.
Are you guys in the hills a little bit?
Yeah, we're surrounded by hills, so we get a little breeze at night, and even when it gets hot in the day, it's pretty nice at night.
So, obviously, with the shirt, you are a big Braves fan. Are you a bigger Braves fan or Kentucky Wildcat fan?
I think that answer would surprise people. I think people would think that I'm more of a UK fan, but I'm probably more of a diehard Atlanta Braves fan. They were my first love. I was a little boy growing up here in Kentucky. One of the only television stations I got was WTBS, so that's how I got hooked on the Braves and Del Murphy.
Yeah, and Skip Carey calling games.
Yeah, and then Chip. Now we got Chip calling games. I guess all right, but Ernie Johnson, Pete Van Wieren, Skip Carey. There was some good days, but the Braves teams were pretty bad back in that day.
Don't forget, old school Brave fans will remember Milo Hamilton when he called Henry Aaron's 715th home run on the radio.
Yeah, that's a legendary moment. It's a shame that Manfred and MLB baseball took some of that celebration away from the city of Atlanta last year when they moved the All-Star game to Colorado.
Yeah, that's a little bit of it. So obviously now the focus on this year. So your Braves lost today to the New York Mets. So now you all 2.5 games behind the Metropolitans in the NL East. I mean, we're a little bit past the halfway point. I mean, are you pleased with how the season's going? Are you a little frustrated? Are you thinking this season's young and there's a long way to go? And knowing the Braves are a great second half team, do you feel like this season's fall from over?
I feel good. Better position we were even this time last year. Hopefully, we won't have to bring a genie out of a bottle for at the trade deadline again. But I got some really good parts. I was disappointed losing 2 out of 3 this week to the Mets. You wanted to win 2 out of 3 at home. It's a big swing. Those are 2-game swings when you play head to head. So if we could have won today, we'd be a half game out instead of 2.5. But the Mets are looking strong. But if you'd asked the beginning of the season, if you told me just past the midway point, we'd be 2.5 back, I probably wouldn't have been too happy about it. But when you consider the fact that on June the 1st, we were 10.5 games out, I'm feeling pretty good about 2.5. And matter of fact, I did a little reading yesterday and some of the comments that were made about the Braves at the All-Star break last year when they were under 500 and saying, oh, it was a lost season for them, a team that was a win away from the World Series the previous year. And so obviously that turned out pretty good for the Braves. So I'm feeling pretty good. I like my chances, and I'll just go ahead and say it, Dylan. The Mets are still the Mets. So I expect my Braves to run them down. Once they do, I won't say exactly what Ron Washington said last year, but he said they're going to see elbows and hind ends once the Braves get into first place, and that's what happened last year, and hope that's what happens again this year. Now, what you didn't mention is a couple series back what my Braves did to your Cardinals.
I don't want to remember that series.
It was 3 out of 4. I guess at some point we come out the bush. I don't know when that is on the schedule, but you guys are in pretty good position too. I would think you got a pretty good shot. Your division's not the strongest, so it's going to come down to you and the Brewers, and then maybe you can get a wild card if you don't win a division.
Yeah, be honest, when I think of your Braves this year, usually I mentioned Ronald Acuna, and yeah, Acuna all-star starter this year. We know what he's capable of doing. I mean, the fact that the Braves only 2.5 back and Acuna has played, what is it, 55 games. So he's basically missed a third of the season. And yet the Braves are still in contention, just like you always on the NL East. You think Ronald Acuna has got more in the second half? Because if you look at his numbers right now, he's got 8 home runs, 22 RBIs, slugging .433, which may not sound that great, but it seems like power's down throughout the game. So are you pleased with how Acuna's playing? You think he could be in for a torrid second half?
I've been a little disappointed, but he's not completely healthy. I mean, good grief, it's just been right at a year ago. The guy blew his knee out, and he's back, and he's showing some signs. I want to keep an eye out. I noticed last 2 or 3 games he's hit a couple balls the other way to right center, and he starts doing that. I think he is about to heat up. I'm just afraid the All-Star break might interfere with that, but but if you told me that the Braves would be 2.5 out and he would only have 7 or 8 home runs, whatever he has, Ozzie Albies would miss extended time, that Morton would struggle early on, that Ian Anderson would struggle, I would kind of like where we are right now. So, but yeah, I look for Acuna to have a big second half. He's a natural talent, and we'll see what he does. But if he gets going, he can carry a team for 2-3 weeks.
Yeah, it's interesting because usually you see guys coming off torn ACLs, especially they don't start the season, have long release, but maybe the Braves rush him a little bit, but just trying to get his feet wet. But I think Acuna can get streaky hot, and be honest, with the weather getting warm in Atlanta, that place, Cross Park can turn to a home run haven. I'm not sure it's quite the launching pad, but it's not far behind.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of home runs hit there. You need to come up sometime and meet me there. Go to a game. It's a nice park.
Well, yeah. Speaking of park, how about the Braves fans this year? I think Atlanta is second in home attendance this year.
Yeah, I think they're already pushing 2 million for attendance this season. So yeah, and they've created this whole world there with shops and stores, villages, whole village, restaurants, hotels. It's a nice area. It's a kind of a destination. So I think the Braves are basically printing money at this point. That's going to help them down the road, the trade deadline. They probably got more money to spend now than they've had since Ted Turner owned them.
Yeah. So speaking of All-Star break, one guy who I think we can both agree who may have been snubbed from the All-Star game is Austin Riley. And since the second half of last year, I'm not sure there's been a more consistent hitter in the Brave lineup than Mr. Riley. I mean, you think of his numbers this year, he's hit 24 runs, 57 RBIs, 560 slugging, 146 OPS plus. And, I'm not saying he's Chipper Jones. I don't think we can compare anybody with Chipper Jones in the just playing third base. But is Austin Riley doing his best Chipper impersonation at third base?
I think so. I really like it. I think his best work's been here in the last maybe 2-3 weeks, so that probably hurt him in the All-Star vote. A lot of the votes were cast, but he's definitely had an All-Star type year. I don't know the process. You're the guru there in terms of the All-Star voting and assignments of players, or if guys are out and how that works. But there's a chance, right? Maybe he could still end up on the team.
Perhaps. I mean, 18 guys skip out on the All-Star game because they either pitched a Sunday before the All-Star break, they've got a little injury, or potentially the manager doesn't want said pitcher throwing in an exhibition, rather have him throw a meaningful game against the divisional rival.
So the All-Star game doesn't mean what it used to, when Pete Rose is going to lay a guy out at home plate.
Yeah, I remember when Pete Rose kicked the crap out of Ray Fosse in 1970, or some of those games where Ichiro had an inside the park home run in San Francisco.
Yeah, it's changed a whole lot. I enjoy the home run derby more than I do the All-Star game.
Concur. I think the home run derby, because be honest, chicks take the long ball anyway. I mean, who'd rather see a bunch of guys strike out 25 times? I'd rather see guys hit the ball over the ballpark. We love with Shohei Ohtani hitting home runs and stalling the All-Star game, or Pete Alonso hitting 490-foot tape shots.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So out there in LA, I'm sure the stars will come out. But what do you asked me about the Braves? What are you thinking about your Cardinals' chances?
I mean, be honest, Central's not going to be easy this year. I think it's going to be a two-team race. I think the question is what team makes the big move in July or early August, because I look at it, I think the Brewers have got great starting pitching with Burns and Brandon Woodruff, but the Cardinals have got a lot of motivation. This is Albert and Yachty's last year, potentially Adam Wainwright's last year, but I think the Cardinals need a frontline starter, and then potentially may look at like a shortstop. I mean, I'm not sure if Carlos Correa is available because Twins seem to be in it, but I think potentially a Luis Castillo, a Frank Montas, if he's healthy, one of these guys, because the Cardinals feel like they're good enough to make it, but not good enough to make a run in October.
Hey, well, that's what a lot of people thought about the Braves last year too.
Yeah, and everybody was looking forward to the game on Monday between Max Scherzer and Max Fried, and while Max Scherzer is a likely Hall of Famer, I feel like Max Fried is the linchpin of your pitching staff, because if you have that young left-handed starter, he feels like the next ace of the Braves staff, because Atlanta's been known as the pitching destination, whether it be Phil Niekro, Smoltz, Glavine, Maddox. I feel like Max Fried could be this era's ace, especially from the left side.
I agree. He didn't have his best stuff Monday night, but he still kept them in the game. That's what aces do. So he's been really, really good for a couple, 2-3 years now. But I agree, he's the linchpin of the staff. Charlie Morton's getting older, but this Spencer Strider kid inserted into the rotation. He's a flamethrower, but I think come playoff time, he'll be coming out of the pen.
Be honest, I think Spencer Strider doesn't just have some of baseball's best stuff. He might have one of baseball's best stashes.
Oh, that's a sweet stash. You got to give him that.
He would go.
When are you going to grow a stash like that?
I can't grow. Every time I grow facial hair, it's too itchy. Like Spencer Strider would have looked good with Charlie Finley's ace in the early 70s.
I think the ladies love the stash, though, Dylan. You may have to work on that.
Oh, no. Now I'm going to look like Don Mattingly with the Yankees in the 80s or 90s.
Speaking of the Yankees, yeah, you think anybody's going to be able to beat them in a playoff series?
We'll see about it. I mean, we've seen the Yankees choke in October before, and yeah, Garrett Cole's great, but if he avoids Fenway, maybe.
Yeah, I guess Aaron Boone's probably on the hot seat a little bit, so they better get something done, or he might be on the chopping block.
You know who has really disappointed me from the Atlanta Braves pitching staff is Ian Anderson. And I saw him pitch because I've worked spring training with the Red Sox the last 3 or 4 years, and with the Braves in Norfolk, we see a lot of the Braves. I saw Ian Anderson pitching this spring, and even though it was a short swing, he looked awful. And I'm like, something is not right with Anderson, because last year with that changeup, he could control games, but this year we've not. I don't think we've seen the best of Ian Anderson. EOA pushing 5.
I
And EOA
agree. He
put-
he needs to be our number 2, not our number 5. As it stands right now, he's our number 5.
Ugh. And that's saying something when Kyle Wright wasn't even pitching in October until the World Series, and now he's got a sub-3 EOA.
Yeah, he's got 10 wins. He's been a pleasant surprise. He's probably, after Freed, he's been our number 2. So I think things shape up well for the Braves in the second half, and then come October, I mean, you never know. Baseball's a funny game. The Braves had all those years. They went in with 100 wins, maybe the best record in baseball, and would get bounced. And then last year they barely found their way in because their division was weaker. And next thing you know, they won the whole thing. So, but baseball is a crazy game. We haven't had a repeat champion since the Yankees in
98,
2000.
99, 2000.
Yeah.
Hey, my Cardinals won a World Series with 83 dubs.
Yeah, I know you remember that well.
Hey, the most important dub was not one we got, but one you guys got against the Squirrels the last day.
Is that what helped you guys sneak in? I don't remember that.
Yeah, because actually it was true at Busch Stadium, first year of the new Busch Stadium. They were actually playing the Tomahawk Chalk because the Astros were playing the Braves, and we needed you guys to win because the Cardinals were going to collapse and have to play an extra game, a rainout game, and then potentially play a tiebreaker game, and then play the LDS against the Padres. But because of you guys winning, we could start Carpenter against Jake Peavy, and I would hit one, and then I would hit a home run that day.
That's Dylan. Your knowledge and memory is phenomenal, but I'd forgotten. So yeah, they were 83 and 78, right? They were 1 game short of a full schedule.
Hey, you guys were 1 game short last year. Maybe that's an omen. You should play 161.
Hey, 161 is the magic number.
Yeah, 144 in 95 and 161 in 2021. So as we know, July or early August can be very important for general managers to improve their teams, whether with prospects or with impact players. What impact player position do you want the Braves to address before the upcoming trade deadline?
I think we need a left-handed bat. I know we just picked up Robinson Cano, but let's be honest, he's a step or two away from being on a walker, finishing up his career. I don't think he's probably that left-handed bat that they need. So it wouldn't surprise me if they try to, maybe add a bullpen arm. Although I like our bullpen, you can never have enough arms. I think a left-handed bat, yeah, maybe a bench player. But if we're healthy, we've got really good depth. I feel like our rotation's in pretty good shape. Again, if everybody stays healthy. But our GM has shown himself to be more than capable of pulling off some great moves that help put your team over the top. So we'll see what he does into this month. But he's going to be active. He'll make some moves.
I mean, Alex Anthopoulos is not just one of baseball's most aggressive general managers. He may be baseball's most aggressive GM. I mean, we already saw the Braves made a trade to get the 35th pick in Sunday's draft. And I think you're right. The Braves, other than Matt Olson, are way too right-handed dominant. Because guess what? Let's just see. You already saw Max Scherzer. Guess who else the Mets have potentially waiting in the ring in the wing?
Not looking forward to DeGrom's return.
Oh no. Let's see. DeGrom and Scherzer 1, 2, and potentially 5 and 6. Oh wait, there's a guy in Milwaukee named Corbin Burns with a 96-mile-an-hour cutter.
Yeah, that's a nasty 1-2 punch. But here's the other thing on the Braves on that left-handed bat situation. If Ozzie Albies gets back healthy, he's a better hitter from the right side, but he's got pretty good pop from the left side. So that might almost be like you've made a trade if he gets back healthy, even when you haven't made any move.
Yeah, especially because I look at just Albies not just offensively but defensively. I mean, yeah, Cano was a former Gold Glove, but he doesn't have range. I mean, when I look at Albies and Swanson, they make, even with all the shifting, Albies and Swanson make double plays seem easy.
Oh, let me ask you this. Do you think there's a better infield in baseball than the Braves, either offensively or defensively?
Probably not. Probably not. I can't think of one off the top of my head. I mean, maybe last year Houston, but I don't think Bregman or Altuve are quite what they were in the past.
I agree, but a lot of that can be attributed to Ron Washington, the work he does with the infield. It's pretty young infield too. When you look at that across the board, that could be good for a while.
Who's one player you would like the Braves to add potentially?
Oh, so not just a particular position or anything, but you're talking about an actual player.
Yes.
Well, if the Yankees are willing to send Aaron Judge over, we'll take him.
Actually, I've heard rumors that Judge might head to. No, I don't know what Aaron Judge is going to do. No, realistic trade acquisition.
Well,
No Aaron Judge.
This is speaking with my heart, not my head. But obviously, it's not going to happen. But you're talking about left-hand bats. Send Freddie Freeman back. It's obvious. It's obvious the guy still wants to be in Atlanta.
And have him be DH, Olsen play first base, though, realistically, with the brain and not the heart.
Yeah, I really hadn't thought about that question. Any specific player, but if no one we need a left-hand bat, if I think we can somebody we can realistically pick up. I don't know, Dylan. I haven't thought that far ahead. You know the players across the league a lot better than I do. Who would you recommend?
That's a good question. If you want power, maybe a David Peralta, the D-backs, but I feel like a guy like Andrew Benintendi makes a lot of sense because, Trust Park is not necessarily the biggest fault, but I think he can get on base, play good left field, and he's got all that postseason experience with the Red Sox, and I feel like you feel like Allison Doppler's made some great moves with the outfield last year and getting the end of Benintendi, not just getting him, but keeping him away from your rivals because some of these teams are going to be after him. The Dodgers may very well want Benny. The Mets very well may want Benny. The Yankees may want Benny. And if you get that big bat, it just makes the lineup deeper. Ozuna can play DH, which is the spot he belongs, not playing left field where I don't know what his DOS is this year, but I think you might have a better defensive run defensive runs than that guy.
Let me ask you this: since the Giants are struggling, perhaps you think it could be Jock Peterson?
worked well last year.
Sure did. Hey, I would roll the dice again. I don't know what his contract. I don't know if he get. What did he get? A 2-year deal with the Giant? 1 year, 2
I don't.
years? I don't.
I don't think it's anything crazy that the Braves couldn't. And you brought back Adam Duvall.
Yeah, that worked out well too. He's Duvall started to come around when they moved him out of center field. I think it helped him.
Well, Duvall was playing way too many games because Duvall had been a left hand, had been a strictly a left-handed, had been hitting against lefties, and now playing every day. I think he got a little time.
Hey, what do you think about our new young center fielder?
Oh my! I love me some Mr. Harris. That guy's got some speed, and I feel like one of Acuna's problems was him playing center field. You get him in right. How about an outfield with Duvall? Especially if you could have Duvall play against lefties, that would be even better because you have somebody playing against righties, somebody playing against lefties. That would be an annoying.
Well, we've got that now. We've got Rosario back. He actually
Okay.
had 3 hit. He had 3 hits today.
Well, that would help.
That could. I think you could have a little bit of a platoon situation with Duvall, Rosario, righty, lefty.
All right, so I've tried to come up with a really good trivia question involving your Braves and All-Star game history, and I think I found one. And I know your Brave history is better than most. Thinking back to the last All-Star game in Los Angeles, 1980, who was the Atlanta Braves representative in the All-Star game?
Ooh. Well, I didn't latch on to the Braves until about 83. Obviously, that was Dale Murphy's heyday, back-to-back MVPs. I don't know by 1980 what kind of level he was playing at. I don't know. It's too obvious to say. I'm going to say Murphy, but that's too obvious. So, heck.
It is not obvious because that was Dale Murphy's first All-Star selection.
It was or wasn't?
It was his first All-Star selection.
Yeah, well, he a quick ascent to stardom then, because you know what he did in 82 and 83.
Yeah, he won NL MVP.
And that guy needs to be in the Hall of Fame, Dylan.
I think there are a few guys who should be in the Hall of Fame, but and maybe a few who shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame.
Probably.
I mean,
so.
How Harold Baines got in the Hall of Fame. Seems
Tell you
like
what, Dylan, I've got in the background, I've got the Reds and Yankees on, and the Reds just went back to back to back.
Well, I'm not using Severino tonight, so the Reds can hit all the home runs they want. I just need.
Well, they're up 4-0. They just hit 3 straight home runs against
them. Holy crap! Then are the Yankee fans like booing Severino?
They're throwing the ball back on the field.
And it's not Wrigley, Phil.
No, listen, they just posted a stat. This is crazy. It shows you how crazy baseball is. Current longest winning streaks in MLB. The Orioles with 9. The Mariners, I think, have 9. The Reds are sitting on a 5-game win streak, and the Pirates on a 4-game win streak.
And didn't the Reds start like 1-21 or some crazy?
I think it was 3-22. Since then, they've basically been a 500 team, so they're not that bad.
Should have fired David Bell before the season started. Maybe they'd be at 500.
Might be, but hey, I would root for Russia against the Yankees.
Oh, I get it. Hey, I know this. You would like a rematch of '96.
Hey, I told some Braves buddies a couple weeks ago. Said you heard it here first. Just like we won it in '95, we returned to the series in '96. We played the Yankees. I'm calling a repeat of the '96 World Series matchup, except this time my Braves come out on top, back-to-back world champs. But again, that's talking with my heart, not my head. It's awfully hard to repeat. You know how that goes.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's repeating 20-something years, so hopefully your Braves make a deep run in October because let me tell you this, Strauss Park is going would be an annoying, a very difficult place to play in late October, early November. It seemed a little cold for the World Series last year.
Yeah, well, it pushed all the way up into November.
Yeah, but Atlanta's not supposed to be this cold.
Well, it's coming. It's North Georgia, so it's it gets hot in the summer, but their winters are probably mild. But you're so used to being down there where it's 109 degrees all the time.
Oh yeah. All right. So thanks for hopping on, Baldy. We wish you Braves well, and hopefully the next time we'll be chatting, you will be one of us will be popping champagne.
All right, Big D, keep up the good work on your podcast.